Yeah, this the bunker. This the bunker. Welcome to the bunker. This the bunker. Yeah, this the bunker.
Yep. Good people, what's up? Let's go. Listen, happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Shouts out to you wherever you are. We are live and we're in the breakthrough bunker where we turn obstacles into stepping stones and dreams into realities. I'm your host, Murph, aka Mr. Motivation. I'm flat out excited to be here today. We're going to dive in. Before we do, I want to shout out my guy, Joey from the Devil Doc Show. I was on his podcast about 2 days ago. Super cool dude. He's out in San Diego. Tap into his show. My episode won't come out for another 3 or 4 weeks. But want you to tap into him. It was a really cool time hanging out, and I want to show some love. Show some love to Joey, the Devil Doc Show. Next up on the bunker, we have, listen, he's not just leading the college, okay? He's reshaping the future of education. Hello? Dr. John Ski is the president of HACC, Central PA's Community College, and a national voice for access, equity, and opportunity. From Cleveland's working class roots to Capitol Hill's education tables, Dr. Ski's journey is one of service, grit, and impact. This episode is a masterclass in leadership, legacy, and what it means to build for the next generation. But before we bring them out, we got to kick things off the only way we know how. The 3, 2, 1 with Murph, where I share 3 thoughts, 2 quotes, and 1 powerful question I have for you, the viewer and listener. So 3 thoughts. Thought 1, access is not enough. What we do with that access is what defines legacy. And we live in an era where information and education are more accessible than ever, right? But access without action leads to stagnation. What will you do with what's within your reach? They always say knowledge is power. I say, knowledge is power, but it's like what you do with it. Now, you got to activate that thing. Get active. Now, we're talking about activism, being really present. 2, the future of our community depends on the bridges we build between education and opportunity. Workforce development, which is one of the things that Dr. Ski is really big on, isn't just an economic issue. It's a moral one. We either build bridges or we reinforce barriers. So I ask you, what bridge are you building? And lastly, your zip code shouldn't determine your potential. Too many dreams get filtered through geography and background. Dr. Ski's story proves that grit, vision, and leadership can rewrite the narrative for yourself and others. I always say, you are the architect of your life. Design the life you want. I'll tell you a story. So, you know me, you know my story. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, low-income community. And I remember just standing outside my window and you'll see crime, drugs, poverty. And, we can say 2 things. One, like, that's it. This is it. This is what life dealt me. This is the cards they dealt me. This is what it is. Or you can say there's more. And I tell people, you got to get exposed to things. You got to get curious. Because, see, once your mind's expanded, to concept on idea. It will never go back to its original form. And I share that to say, you know my story. I used to watch Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Shouts out to Robin Leach. And I'm like, I'm from the hood, and I'm looking at Robin. He's flying all over the world, yachts and mansions. And I'm thinking, I want that. How do I get there? And I think subconsciously it's just something I started chasing throughout life to get to that next level. Not necessarily, all the blingy things, but just to that higher level, because they looked like they lived different than what I was looking at. And that's what I was chasing. So remember, you are the designer of your life, the architect. Every day, I remember Bob Proctor would say, every day is a blank canvas. Paint the life you want. You got the brush, right? So take that and apply that. Two quotes. Education changes everything for individuals, families, and communities. I believe I heard that from Dr. Ski. And the next one is a quote that he, I think, references as one of his favorites. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Eleanor Roosevelt. I encourage you to have a great mind. And one prompt for the audience, viewers and listeners, think back to someone who opened the door for you. What mindset, decision, or habit are you practicing today that honors their investment in you? Whew. I'm going to say that again for those people in the back virtually. Think back to someone who opened the door for you. What mindset, decision, or habit are you practicing today that honors their investment in you? And I want to do this before, I got. It was about Dr. Ski. Hold on. I want to get the chat popping. Let's make sure we know who's coming onto the stage. Chat, connect. Let's go. All right. So here's the official intro. I'm excited. Shouts out to Dr. Ski. All right, before we bring him out, let me tell you, this dude, beast, man. Dr. Ski is a transformational higher education leader, and workforce development champion, currently serving as the longest standing president of HACC, Central Pennsylvania's community college. Under his leadership, HACC has become a launch pad for thousands of students, a catalyst for economic innovation, and a model of what inclusive education should look like. He serves as chair of both the American Association of Community Colleges and the Pennsylvania Commission for Community Colleges, pushing forward national conversations around diversity, equity, and workforce readiness. But beyond the titles and accolades, Dr. Ski's story is grounded as a first-generation college graduate from Cleveland who never forgot the power of access and opportunity. Whether he's building programs that uplift communities or navigating entire institutions through unprecedented change, Dr. Ski shows us what leadership with heart, vision, and purpose truly look like. Please, ladies and gentlemen, far and near, allow me to introduce the homie, Dr. Ski. Dr. Ski, what up? Hold up. Let me see. Wait. Hold on, hit the button, Dr. Ski. I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me see. I heard you earlier. Check. Can you hear me? Well, this says you're live. Let me see. You gotta love tech. Tech's a gift and a curse, man.
Yep.
There we go. Say something.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hey, thanks, Mr. Motivation. I got to tell you, I'll sit here and listen to you for the next several hours. Okay. There's nobody that does it better than you. So thank you for having me on. I hope you could share a couple things. We can engage in some conversation and talk to some folks. But you're absolutely right. I think about your book, Unbreakable Value. Unbreakable Valor. There are so many quotes. There's so many lessons in here. The one that I like that I'm going to start out with is you decide how life impacts you. And that's what we're talking about. And so I like to talk about it, blessing or curse. You're going to look at your life as a blessing or a curse. How you gonna handle it, how you going to look at things, how you going to paint that picture like you talk about. So, yep, that's what education does. Nelson Mandela said it, right? The only weapon there really is to change anything is education. And you know it. You were an esteemed faculty member for us. You know, education's critical for you. I mean, there's a lot going on. When you were the speaker at our commencement exercises, thousands of folks. You know, you had them almost on their feet, 10 toes down, saying education is the way to go. So I will always be grateful, my friend. You changed a life, a destiny, and a family tree for certain.
Oh man, listen, you are far too kind. You know, it's funny, right? Because you know, I speak, I can talk that talk, but Dr. Ski be talking that talk on the next level. I appreciate you. Listen, Dr. Ski, before we get started, I always ground us in like, how do the guests know me? How we connected? Share with the people how we know each other.
Well, we met with Leadership Lancaster, and many cities have this leadership opportunity. And so when you and your wife moved into the area, you participated in Leadership Lancaster, as did I when I came into the area.
Right.
And we were together on the bus, went to the farm. We were showing us Lancaster, and we just hit it up. I mean, you and I are just talking, and you know, my wife was looking at us like, "What are you guys? You know, come on." And so we were just talking it up, and then from then on, we became friends. You know, you became a faculty member for us, did a bang up job. We had you speaking throughout Lancaster. A lot of points, you know, with your military background, with all the rest of that. Just an entrepreneur. You know, the big thing I have to say about you, Murph, and I do tell students about you, is you work it. And, you know, for those that are entrepreneurs that are out there, I have to tell you, I wish we could give Mr. Motivation huge accolades and awards. And I don't say it to flatter him right now, but he's been working this for years. The success that he enjoys did not happen in the last day or two. He went through ups and he went through downs, but he kept going. When you talk about in the book, you talk about grit. You had the grit, Murph, to keep it moving when you wondered, you know, and then finally, slowly, things were starting to happen. But anyway, back to your question, that's how we met, was through that once a month event where we would come together. And from that on, it was history.
Yeah, you know, Dr. Skeet, man, thank you for your those flowers. I'm gonna give you yours. So, backstory: yes, we met Leadership Lancaster, and we would just break bread. And Dr. Skeet was like, "Yo, Murph, listen, we need you in the classroom." And at this time, I had my bachelor's degree, but I didn't have my master's. I had, you know, struggled with my praxis exam and whatnot. And I was like, I don't need the master's, whatever. And I was like, well, Dr. Ski, what I need to do? And he said, you got to get your master's. So I got to credit you, because it's because of you, with our conversation and the opportunity you said that will be there, that I went back for my master's. And I would commute from Lancaster to Delaware, because I went to Wilmington University, and back and forth. And then I hit you that summer when I got my commencement. I said, Dr. Ski, got my paperwork. And that fall, you invited me to meet with Victor Ramos, who was coming on as the VP. And that next spring, I was in the classroom. So as I start, shouts out to QCC, I start QCC September 3rd. Quinsigamond Community College, first year experience, just like our first year course. And I credit just my start to even be in the space to be able to impact lives on a higher level in higher education to you. So I appreciate you seeing that in me early.
Well, yeah, well, you're welcome, Murph. Thanks so much. But, you know, I got to tell you, those classes, that first year experience and all that, you did it. There was a buzz on campus because you were then as you are today. You know, you went through your stuff. You brought that to the table, but it wasn't like, people, we're just stopping here. You've got the ability to change. You know, Murph, you're a psychologist, you're a counselor, you're a coach, you're a motivator, you're all of that. But, you know, the big thing that you made mention in your intro is this whole idea of action. We can talk, we can fantasize, we can do all the rest of it. But the thing that you model regularly is putting it into action. And so I commend you for that. And that was one of the many lessons that our students got when they would leave class. I can remember being in the parking lot when people were leaving. They were like, oh my God, you know, Mr. Murphy, you know, and it really, you got to realize that it was, you made a major impact, and I know you're going to at QCC. So I'm
appreciate it. Yeah. So listen, we're gonna dive into Dr. Ski. We got Dr. Ski here. We're gonna see where this conversation goes. Well, you know, Dr. Ski, talk us through how was your beginning? How was your upbringing? What's your household look like? What's your origin story?
I grew up in Cleveland, as you said. I grew up in a working class community of steelworkers, Polish immigrants. I lived in a Polish ghetto, if you will.
Mm.
And the expectations for me were to go right to the steel mill when I finished high school. And okay, decent. But along the way, some teachers said, I'm not sure that the steel mill is going to be the place for you. I think you got a little bit more going on. And so they paid for me to go to a Catholic high school in the city of Cleveland. And I went there, and that was kind of the trajectory that in some ways was able to help me see kind of a broader vision, kind of a bigger horizon than just this parochial little community. And it just opened up an awful lot. And so it was really through education that I was able to springboard into a variety of things. But Murph, I have to say, I don't know if it'll come up, I've had to deal with that imposter syndrome because, and that was pretty much a lot of my life. I'm okay now, but, I'd be sitting next to these millionaires asking them for money. And I'm thinking, man, if you only knew the 900 square foot house I grew up in and all the rest of that, so it just comes to mind to say, hey, but education makes a difference. Surrounding yourself with the right people like you, Murph, is helpful. People who can be honest with you. And there were a few along the way. But it was really education that was a springboard for me.
So, Dr. Ski, so recognizing your upbringing, your background, how did your mindset shift? We deal with imposter syndrome in those spaces where now the boardrooms, you hanging out with billionaires and them. I say hanging out meaning in that space. Yeah. How did you go from like that imposter to feel like you belonged?
Murph, for me, if I reflect on that, I would say that it had to do more with experience and time. Maybe like you as a successful entrepreneur. I had to have some early small wins that turned into medium wins, that turned into larger wins to gain that self-confidence. Because for the longest time, Murph, there was self-doubt. Wow. And so it really was by getting those successes one after another. And they weren't all successes, Sure. I mean, what? We strike out a few times as well. That would be the answer I'd have for you, Murph, on just accumulating some of those successes over years to say, wow, I can do that. I am capable. I am able. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I always talk to when I'm coaching or teaching, it's like you get a small win, What happens is you start to build momentum, and then you can really get hype off of that. And then you eventually, go out the stratosphere, if you will. Now, take us back. Okay.
I can. The thing is building a team. And I think that's the other thing that's an important point. We need to surround ourselves with those positive energy, intelligent folks, more intelligent than us and diverse. They can't all look like me and they can't all look like you. We've got to make sure that we have a diverse group of brilliant people who are positive energy, who are role models in some ways for us to be able to strive always. Because we don't want to be the smartest people in the room. We need to have that push. And it'll be tough sometimes. It's going to be stuff we're not going to want to hear. But if we trust that person, we believe in that person, we have to make sure we've got that group around us because we can't do it alone. And,
so, funny you say that. I don't mean to cross you, but and from an entrepreneurial standpoint, it's hard to build a team. It takes time. So what did you do, or what was your approach to like formulating this team to help you be successful?
Well, I hope it doesn't sound trite, but I really looked for people who were different than me, smarter than me. And so if I think about my current role as a president now, and I have 7 vice presidents, majority are vice presidents of color. It has to do with a variety of things. Their expertise and accomplishments in their specific field, like academics, student affairs, fundraising, advancement, that type of thing. That would be one area. The second area is that they challenged me, and that the biggest point I can't bring up enough is that they were diverse. I was not going to surround that table with a bunch of white folks. I needed to make sure there were people of color because we are the community's college. And so, 1/3 of our students are students of color of the 5 campuses, the 30,000 students that we have. We have to ensure that they're represented in the highest levels of the institution. And when we have conversations, We have something every Tuesday called Truth Tuesday, and it is a discussion about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and how it's working or not working at our college. And that's something that's a critical thing every Tuesday, and then at our cabinet meetings. And so we're challenged, and it's a great group of folks who challenge each other. And so building that wasn't easy. It took some time. It challenged some people. Some left because they didn't like the challenge. But as I said to folks, we've got to make sure we represent the college community. And so slowly we built it, and we have it now. I'm grateful.
There's a quote that says you could go fast alone or you go far with others. Question for you. I mean, you've done so much. Do you have mentors? Did you have a mentor, a specific mentor that helped you on your journey?
I did not, Murph. I'm asked that question a lot. I always wanted one. Were there people that I admired and people that I admired? Yes. Were there people I learned not what not to do? And I may have to say that there were more of those people than the people I really looked at. I was very fortunate to have some good people in my life that were helpful and inspiring and all the rest of that, but not a mentor as such. I say to the students today, what you need to be successful is really inside you. You somehow have to grab into it. You gotta get to it. It's there. And I don't mean this as a criticism, and we do need coaches. We need mentors. I know I am to aspiring presidents of different brown, black, white, aspiring. It's important. I'm glad to give my years of experience and all that to them as they want it. But I think it's critical that we realize we can do what we need to do if we can only believe in ourselves. So the phrase I give the students at graduation is continue to believe in yourself. Because Murph, low self-esteem is something that's really kind of an infectious pandemic out there. Somehow we're taught by society or family or whatever it is to maybe not believe in ourselves as much as we should. And that is critical. It's people from being successful. And so we have to be people to kind of kick folks to say, you got inside of you what it takes to be successful.
Right. It's funny because that self-esteem piece is critical. Sometimes I share, how do you lack confidence? And I think oftentimes we may say, I'm going to quit vaping. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to quit this. But we never quit. We don't start. We don't stop. So over a period of time, you keep lying to yourself. Eventually you stop believing you, and that's where it starts inside. So how do you change that around? Whatever you say, do. I love the 4 agreements. One of the agreements, anything you say, be impeccable with your word. So I think that's how you combat the lack of confidence as you push forward. So just a nugget to share with the people listening and watching. Now, Dr. Ski, I like to focus on people that.
Quick second. One of the quotes in your book that I really like, and I think it's important, is, view the world as a reflection of yourself. I think that applies pretty well here. It's pretty powerful, Murph.
Yes, sir.
View the world as a reflection of yourself.
Powerful.
This motivation quote.
I like to do the quote book out of that. What I was going to say, it'll come back to me. So I like to talk to people. I focus on people that are stuck, people that are stalling or even starting over, right? So to share with them, take us back to a time in your life where you felt stuck and didn't know what you needed to do to move forward. Maybe you was in a struggle or dealing with a setback. How did you bounce back? How did you embrace that?
How did I bounce back? Well, Murph, one of the examples I can think of has to do with one of the first times that I was trying to raise money for scholarships in my first presidency. And I went to a wealthy individual, and I really flubbed. I wasn't prepared enough. I really didn't understand the process. I didn't understand the dynamic I didn't research the donor enough. So there were a lot of lessons I learned, and I failed miserably. I failed to the point where she said, there's no reason for me to ever come back and ask her for any resources for our students. I really failed miserably. And so that really got me. And I was licking my wounds for a little while thinking, this is an aspect of my job I don't know if I could do, so then can I really do the job in general? And so what I sought out an association, joined an association, went to their conference, got a hold of some people who were doing it, and then also hired an individual, Dr. Liney Carter, who's phenomenal and who taught me how to raise resources, how to engage with current donors, potential donors, and that type of thing. And I credit that with her in helping teach me how to do it right. So I could have, just said, I'm not good at this. So, there goes my presidency. But I was able to just kind of say, okay, I'm not good at this. I've got to get good at this. What do I have to do? And so I sought resources.
Now, did you always have that mindset? Because like some people, you take that big L, it's like, you know what, I'm over this. This ain't for me. But did you always have that mindset? You know what, I took an L, but like, how do I get better? You know what I mean? Like, how do you stayed in the fight? Like, where did that come from?
I don't know, Murph, because I would say that I have been resourceful most of my life. Maybe it was because I knew that what I came from, it was working class. So I didn't have access to a variety of folks. I was so out of place in high school because most of the high school folks were from the East Side, which was a very wealthy side. And when I went to their homes or whatever, I didn't even know how to act. I'm coming from 900 square feet. We're going to 3,000, 4,000 square feet, and it's kind of like, whoa. So I think just being resourceful and just determined with this grit that you write about in your book, or you talk a lot about, I don't know, maybe it came from that working class steel mill. But I always felt that there was something more, that to be satisfied with just staying put on that same street with 40 relatives who all worked at the steel mill, I thought there was more. That's why I'm a big biker, bicyclist. And I raise money every year, for scholarships for the college. The bicycle for me allowed me to get out of my parochial environment and explore other parts of the city. And that has stayed with me my whole life. And that's part of the reason I love biking, because it does expose me to other areas. And so by going to that high school, seeing different types of individuals, exploring into other neighborhoods to see much more of life, it really opened up my mind.
Wow. Now, what got you into biking?
Well, it truly was that idea of exploring other neighborhoods, getting out of my neighborhood. That was the big point. I had an aunt who gave me my first bike, and she said, go. I took that literally, and I've been riding ever since.
So talk to us about you said you raised money for the school through biking?
Yeah, every year I raised over 100,000 over my tenure here on biking. So every year I do anywhere from 200 to 500 miles in a week and a half or so, and raise money for scholarships. It one allows me to go see donors and superintendents and friends of the college and students and all that type of thing. It keeps me grounded, but it also gives me a little time to think about the past year, how that went, plan for the next year, review my own self. How am I doing? What can I do to grow? You talk about that in your book as well, about reviewing honestly, what are my strengths, weaknesses? What did I do well? Where do I have to grow? And so I'm pretty honest with myself, just kind of out there. When I rode Harrisburg to Gettysburg, 35 miles or so, there was a lot of self-talk going on, a lot of laughing. I did that. But also saying, hey, you need to change this, you need to alter that. So so it is part of that self-talk, which again is so important, Murph. Self-talk. Some of us were raised in strict religious backgrounds, have some of those tapes that will really harm you, and you almost have to learn to reprogram those tapes. And I will say, even at this stage of my life, I'm still reprogramming those tapes.
Wow. There's a book, I share this a lot, T. Harvey Eker, Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, and it talks about like our mind fouls. So for example, one example she has in the book, female, young, she says to her mom, let me get some money. And her mom says, go to your dad. And that's the constant back and forth. She grows up thinking she has to go to a man for money because that's in her money mind files. So she has to now recognize that and reprogram it. And I always often tell people, our mind's like a machine. You got to control, alt, delete, get rid of some of that stuff to make space for the bigger stuff. So when you say that reprogramming, that resonates pretty well with me. Thinking even about reprogramming, if you could write a message to your 18-year-old self or to someone watching tonight who's ready to quit, right? We got a lot of scholars, I've been in this classroom, they come in, they have a great idea, they hype, and then there's like the workload, and they want to give up. What would the note say?
That note would say, keep going, explore, accept all opportunities, just work it. Murph, I'm going to share something with you. So part of the reason that I think I was persistent and all the rest, I grew up in the 80s, and I'm gay. And so the issue is I always had to work harder. I always had to be smarter than the next guy, because in the late 80s and the early 90s, I was usually afraid of being fired because I could easily be fired. I could still be fired today. Pennsylvania doesn't have any protection, so you could be fired for being gay. But part of that, Murph, is that idea that I never was going to be outshined, if you will, by anybody. And so it was really that my sexuality that really kind of propelled me to make sure that I was doing better than most, and I was achieving my goals because of a fear. I mean, positive and a negative, right? It was fear of being fired, maybe, and at times, the late 80s, early 90s, a fear of being found out about. So,
Wow.
And I think about this, I relate it a little bit to our students or employees of color. I have some mentees who are African-American presidents, female, male. One or two may have lost their job for wrong reasons, and it's very difficult for them to get another job as a president. Whereas a white person, they could get a second or third chance. And so when we're talking about interviewing for a presidency, let's say, we got to check the board out. We've got to check things out differently for a person of color than we do a white person. And that is critical in any of our professions. And I think about that from my time of being gay. And even 14 years ago, when I came here to Harrisburg, knowing that it is sort of conservative, I had to say to the board in the last hour, listen, I'm not going to hold you to fire, to suing you or whatever, but I just want you to know who I am. And if that's going to embarrass you or cause you problems, tell me now, because I don't want to get this job and then, something happens and you then get rid of me for that reason. And so they were great, and they've been great over the time. It wasn't easy for the first couple. There's a lot of prejudice and homophobia and all the rest of it, but they stood by me. Same with racism. We experienced some racism of some of our VPs, but the board stood by us throughout all of that, and we're in a much different place today in 2025. We're better, not perfect. We're better, at least. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out for those that may be gay, and trying to kind of navigate things. It was different then than it is now, but it's still an issue.
Check. No, thanks for sharing that. Now, in higher ed, like, what was your track career-wise? Did you always know this is where you want to end up?
I always knew I wanted to be a teacher because, here I am, this kid from, average means, working class, knowing that education really made a difference, especially in high school. And the priests that taught me in high school really left a mark on me because they were so dedicated to teaching and taking kids like me and really trying to, build them up and show them a different world. So that really instilled in me the need and want to be a teacher because I could see there that it changed a life, a destiny, and a family tree. And I thought, wow. And so I got into education. And so when I finished college and all, I got into it, worked over in Cabrini Green in Chicago, and then in some other inner city schools. And then I ended up running into a parent who was a VP at a major company. And he said, hey, instead of making X amount of dollars, we can double your salary. You could travel a lot and do all the rest. So I became a corporate trainer for 4 years for a Fortune 500 company. And it was 4 years because I was traveling 4 nights a week. And after 4 years, that was enough. But it provided me, I was allowed to be a facilitator of learning, a trainer, that kind of thing. And then I got back into teaching and then went to the community college. And where I started my career in education as a community college person, and then got into the community colleges, taught business, and then took an administrative job. And from there, was able to climb the ladder from a director to a vice president, and then ultimately to a vice chancellor for the state of Virginia, overseeing workforce for the 23 community colleges, and then a presidency.
Now, anyone on that track to school leadership, what advice would you give them?
They need to be exposed to all forms of education and the different positions within education, be it K to 12, be it higher education. They really need to be as exposed as they can be to really, in some ways, find their niche, because some thrive in the K to 12 space. I mean, I started teaching 4th grade, and loved it. Loved it. Those kids were great. And then I went to high school. That wasn't so great. And then went to college, and that was better. But I do think it was important for me to experience the different aspects of education. And that's what I would recommend to folks. Really be nosy and try a variety. I'm going to digress quickly. I had a young lady come and see me recently who said, hey, I just went to this private school. I got $100 and some thousand in debt. And I just came to realize I don't like teaching. I finished my first year and I don't like teaching. So what do you think I could do that it helped me earn some money to pay my $724 a month loan off? Well, I was a little aghast and thinking, ooh, that's positive here, but it's like, ooh, you just found that out now?
Right.
So I tried to give her some ideas, but I felt bad for her because she invested 4 years and over $100,000 to get a bachelor's degree in education. You come to the community colleges for 2 years, spend $7,000, see if you like it. And if you do, then transfer to a 4-year school, get your bachelor's degree and go on for your master's if you need to. But anyway, I digress.
No, that's a great transition. So I want you to promote HACC. Why if I'm in the Lancaster, Harrisburg, wherever HACC has a home, why HACC? Why should I choose HACC?
Well, I like to look at it as HACC and it's Harrisburg Area Community College. We're in 5 areas. We're in Gettysburg, Harrisburg, Lancaster, Lebanon, and York, Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania. We're the largest, the oldest, and I think the finest community college, 15 in Pennsylvania. But there are a lot of reasons, I believe, to come to HACC. One has to do with the quality of education. Our education, our classes, our programs, as you well know, Murph, transfer to 4-year state, private schools, and schools throughout the country. And so we're really proud about that, about our faculty. And you know that, you're part of the faculty.
Sure.
We're very, very pleased about our programs. We're nationally ranked in a lot of our programs. Our health careers, almost 1/3 of all our students are involved in health careers. We have the largest nursing program in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And our pass rates are over 90%. In some of our healthcare, it's 100% pass rates. So that speaks for itself. Our costs are about 1/3 to more or less than some of the public and private schools. And so why not get those first 2 years of general education out of the way for an inexpensive amount, and then transfer the 4-year school of your life, and then chalk up, $100,000 in debt.
Yeah.
That the average in Pennsylvania is $39,000 in debt. But go to the state 4-year schools, go to a private school. There are a lot of scholarships associated to folks who graduate from HACC, especially if they're members of Phi Theta Kappa, which is the International Honor Society. So that's a reason. The other reason is our internship program, our work with business and industry to get our students out into industry. I think that the clubs, the programs that we have, the opportunities for students to gain leadership skills are just critical. And just our engagement with our community is just phenomenal. Our communities love us, hire our students, promote our students, and are always eager to provide insights and dollars to help us in programs and in scholarships.
Oh, yeah, HACC, yeah. No doubt. No, thanks for sharing that, Dr. Skill. We're gonna get into my signature 5 questions here before we let you go tonight. So, what's a belief or mindset shift that changed everything for you, and how did it shape who you are today? What's a belief or mindset shift that changed everything for you, and how did it shape who you are today?
I think a lot of what helped shift my attitude was working with people of color. Uh,
Mm,
it was huge for me because I grew up in a white Polish immigrant ghetto.
mhm,
The first time that I ever interacted with a person of color was in high school, and that was the beginning of my understanding of diversity and
mm,
the value that was placed on that, and that a lot of the prejudice and bias that may have been instilled in our community was blown away. I do say this to folks. The real prejudice I grew up with in my family were Irish folks, because the Irish folks came to Cleveland first and got all the good jobs. And so when the Poles came, all I heard my whole life was just a dislike for Irish folks. My whole life, that was number one before any
wow.
other group of people, which I do chuckle about. Uh,
Sure.
but I would say that that was the beginning. So my mindset changed when I started to work with
Mm,
individuals of color and communities of color. That
mhm.
was a big mind shift for me, Murph.
You made me think about when I went to the military. My first roommate, Peter J. Nisipini, Gangsta Nip. He was from, I think, upstate New York somewhere, and I was the first black dude he had interacted with. It's my roommate now, and he was just like, Mark, you actually all right. So I'm guessing how he grew up. What was said, and now he got to actually be with someone who he never been around, and he's like, like your energy, your attitude, I'm really rocking with it. So I encourage people, that's why I promote travel, go to different countries. I love like experiencing culture, Asian culture, African culture, because you can read books and hear stories, but until you like actually like dive in, you'd be like, oh wow, this is different. Okay, so no, I appreciate you sharing that,
And
Dr.
I
Ski.
spent time in India, so I
Mm,
got that. I just came back from Kenya, and I had some new learning that occurred from that as well. And you're
sure.
right. That probably one of the best educations is really to travel internationally, and you
Hmm.
really become much more sensitive. You become
Hmm.
more understanding. It really
Correct.
does provide you insight. I love working with our international students because I
Hmm.
learned so much. I feel bad for them because they're coming to a new culture, new food, new everything else. So we really try to take special care of our international students, knowing how difficult it is for them to adjust to a way of life that they're not used to, be it
Sure.
South American, be it Middle Eastern, whatever it may be.
Sure.
I've learned a lot on how to be more sensitive to that and to be encouraging and to be present to
Mm,
it's difficult and it's stuff
mhm.
we take for granted.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Ski, what keeps your fire lit, man? Especially when like progress feels slow or the odds are stacked against you. What keeps you going?
The thing that always kept me going, Murph, is how education changes lives. I
Mm,
see it every day in the classroom when I'm walking around the campuses and listening to the students. I see it at graduation. Murph, you saw it when you were speaking. You were the keynote speaker. There are people that, first generation, people who had been out of school. We had a woman most recently, 78 years old, got her degree,
mhm.
put her grandkids and kids through school. Now it was time for her, and she got a degree in web development. Murph, uh,
Listen,
where does that happen? But that when the students, and our average age is 25, when they're walking across that stage, there's hooting and hollering from family who were
mhm.
immigrants, who never thought their kids were going to go to school and get a degree, who were going to go on. That's what keeps me going, Murph, is to
Yeah.
see how every day the work that we do at the college changes a life, a
Mhm.
destiny, and a family tree. I reiterate that all the time.
Listen, I've been fortunate to teach at I don't do elementary, but middle school, high school, and college. And I mean, middle school I love is definitely I told all boys middle school. It's like a 401k. You won't see your impact until like 10, 15 years later. But college, especially HACC and community college, you get 18-year-olds to, like you said, 80. And I remember one guy, the semester started, he sends an email, and the body of the email was in the subject line. And I was like, this is strange. Come to find out, he just came home. He did about almost 30 years in prison. And he was just like, hey, professor, listen, I'm here to do everything I need to do. I got to graduate. And like he said, just help me. I mean, and to your point, this is the impact we have on communities. You know, when we teaching people, whether it's middle school, high school, college, you know, you're teaching them, but at college, you're teaching their kids because they're going home and they're saying what you said to family members and neighbors. So we actually impacting a community, hence community college. So the work we do, shouts out to the adjuncts, to the faculty, the staff at community college at HACC, because you are important and the work you do is important. Just wanted to share that story.
Yeah, thanks, Murph. Absolutely.
Yeah. Dr. Ski, we got 2-3 more. What is your relationship with money, and has it always been that way?
You know, I go back to a working class family.
Yep.
I know that I have done better than most in my family, and I attribute that to education and the opportunities that it provided me. Because of having the opportunity open doors for me. I realize I'm a white male, so that is a given.
Sure.
But I also know that education opened the doors for me to do well. But it's never been, and I know it's going to sound cliche, it's never been my driver. You know, it's about that passion. I say that to the students. Do what you love. You want to be a musician. You want to be a fine artist. Do it. Just do it. Murph, look at you. You wanted to be that motivational coach. You wanted to be Mr. Motivation. And you did it. You're doing it. You're living your passion. And good things are happening to you financially, emotionally, spiritually, all of that, Murph. And so money, it's I know it's important and all the rest of that, but it's never been my driver.
You know, there's a book I read that even helped change my perspective, The Go-Giver. There's 6 laws of stratospheric success. The last law is the law of receptivity. And it's the last law for a reason, because you got to give first. So I tell people, anything you want, you got to give. You want compliments? Give compliments. You want money? Give money. So I've always been, grounded in that. And I don't come from money. I remember tearing food stamps out the packet. And it took years for me to even get to that financially savvy space, but still I'm grounded in one, gratitude and giving. So I just want to share that.
In your book, you talk about forgiveness and gratitude. And I have to say that gratitude is my prayer in the morning, and it's my prayer in the evening, to give thanks for what happened. And in many ways, Murph, I shouldn't be enjoying or being in some spaces that I am. But again, I do attribute it to education. Played a critical role. But I have to say, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, and just gratitude. Murph, there's books on gratitude. I've got a bookcase full of books on gratitude. And I'll tell you, being grateful for what you have, as opposed to being, sad or depressed. Well, I don't do this. I don't have that. I have this. No. It seems as if once you start that gratitude prayer, if you will, you'll have more reasons to give gratitude. And I have found that in my adult life. And so I try to be much more of gratitude than anything else. Forgiveness is important, really. We can't be fools. As Mom would teach you, once people show you who they are, believe them.
Believe them.
But the issue is with gratitude, I can't speak enough about being of grateful heart. And like I said, prayer in the morning, I'm grateful for and in the evening, as I review my day, I call it an examination of conscience. What could I have done better? Who did I harm? And maybe forgiveness for, and then just be grateful. 3 things that I'm grateful for from the day. And it's amazing. When I first started, I struggled maybe getting 3, then 5, and then now I go on until I fall asleep. It's quite good. From the sheets you're sleeping on, to the car you're driving.
Right. Hello.
The eyesight to see a red light or whatever it may be.
Because a lot of stuff we take for granted, until you lose it. You know what I mean? So it's like, be grateful for that thing. Hey, Dr. Ski, we got someone that's dialed in on the chat. How can someone set up a scholarship at HACC?
Well, easily. They can go to the website, hack.edu, and seek the foundation, and or just type in the web browser, HACC scholarships, and it'll take you to the website. If you wanted to, you could also contact me at ski@hack.edu, and I can point you into the right direction. So ski@hack.edu, and I'll get you there. We have cash scholarships. We have endowed scholarships. Our endowed scholarship is $35,000. Over 5 or 6 years, you can put some money into that. We have cash scholarships, $3,000. And so there's a lot of ways that you can give. And let me tell you, there are really, really grateful people, grateful students who get these scholarships who otherwise wouldn't be able to come even to our priced institution. So I'm just grateful. We have very generous folks in all 5 of our all 11 counties, very generous people. And it's really changing a life, a destiny, and a family tree. So if you're interested, please email me. I'll get you connected. I'll talk to you on the phone, whatever it may be, and we'll take care of it.
Well, for listeners and viewers, I dropped you see it scrolling down the thing there, www.hack.edu, and in the chat you'll have ski@hack.edu. And Dr. Ski, you know what? I feel bad. I haven't even thought about this before, but the Murphy family definitely gotta do some kind of scholarship. So me tap in with wifey, and we will definitely put something together. Yeah, I like that. Thanks for that in the chat.
So grateful. What I like to say in the past, when we were founded in '64, we were supported by the state. Over the years, we were assisted by the state. Now we're located in the state of Pennsylvania. Because many people say, well, you're a public institution. Why do I need to give? Well, about 18% of our budget, $130 million, comes from the state. So most of it comes from tuition and fees. And so, it can be a tough nut to crack. Transportation, childcare, food, education, work. I mean, there's some choices our students have to make, and education isn't always top of the list when you got kids and you got food, you got housing. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'll tell you, every graduation, it's great when we ask those people who are graduating who really are there because of the generosity of others through a scholarship. It's amazing how many lives have been touched by the generosity of people. It's great.
Outstanding. Dr. Ski, 2 more. What daily habits, rituals, boundaries, or systems that you use that keep you centered or sharp and aligned with your mission? What are you doing?
So what I do is first thing in the morning is meditation. I will 15 to 30 minutes of meditation. It's maybe a passage in Unbreakable Valor that I found. I read it. It could be something from the Quran. It could be something from a quote that I find during the day, whatever it may be, and kind of focus on that. And then I'll do some exercise, and then I'll do some quick reading, and then get ready for the day and either head off to the first meeting or get to the college or whatever it may be. And then at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's, as I said, kind of powering down, putting that iPhone to the side, and then just spending some time with self at the end. And then I have a little something I keep in my pocket. So during the day, when I touch it, I'm reminded of my morning meditation. And I kind of make sure that during the day, where you could get all wrapped up in stuff, that I've kind of brought back to what my meditation was in the morning and do a quick evaluation to say, okay, are you on track with this of what you hope to accomplish during the day?
Wow. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thanks for sharing. It's all about those systems and the things you have in place. Last question, Dr. Ski. What has failure taught you that success never could? What has failure taught you that success never could?
I think, again, Murph, it goes back to you have everything inside you if you decide to use it to make sure you can be successful. You've got to believe in yourself. You have to continue to believe in yourself and believe that you have to be resourceful to maybe bring some people into your world, bring resources into your world to be successful. So I think back to that failure of that first unsuccessful donation.
Yep.
Just, you talk about in your book as well, resilience. And I think it's important that we try to keep a spirit of resilience, because we are going to fail. We are going to stumble. We're human.
Yeah.
And so therefore, we've got to be careful at how hard we are on ourselves, because I'll tell you, a lot of other people will be hard on you. As a college president, there are a lot of people that are always looking to find fault. And so you have to be pretty secure in yourself, knowing that you're human and you're going to make mistakes. You don't do it purposely. You try to listen to folks and make the best decisions you can. But if, you're worried about being liked and all the rest of it, I tell my mentees, go sell ice cream or take care of pets. Because, you've got to make some tough decisions, and nobody fully understands what it's all about. But believing in yourself is so critical, Murph. That's what failure has taught me time and time again.
Yeah, no, spot on. I want to share a book. It's a quick read. It's called Go for No, and it talks about the levels of failure. The level one is everyone. We all have it, the ability to fail, but you got to have the willingness, the wantingness, and then you got to fail fast and big, and then you got to fail exponentially. That's when you have others after the same goal objective pursuing failure to get to the win faster. And I think it's a good read for those that maybe not be totally bought into the fact that failure is the thing that gets you to the next level. So to tap into that. Dr. Ski, I'm gonna let you have a final word. Any thought? The final promo? Give a shout out. Go ahead, brother.
Well, I will say this. Real plug here. Classes for HACC online or on ground start Monday, so there's time to register. HACC.edu. But Murph, here's what I want to say. When I listen to you, when I read your book, when I listen to you over the years, I do look at you as being someone, you're well-read, and I think that's an important piece. We need to be readers, to be educated, to be leaders. You need to be well-read. And Murph, you do that. You model that, and I commend you for that. It is critical. Reading is critical. Sure. The other piece is this idea of grit, determination. Murph, I brought it up early, and I'm going to say it again. You sit where you sit today, sir, because you have overcome so many obstacles, so much, maybe, I don't know about this, maybe a little self-doubt, but a lot of folks coming at you, and I could see where, you had to keep going and going, and slowly you kept building and building. You got pushed down a little, slowly building. Yeah. This hasn't happened overnight. People don't know the struggles you've gone to. What they may see is the success in Mr. Motivation. They see the podcast, they see all the rest of that, but they don't know those late nights, those early mornings, the tears, the anger, the disappointment, the self-doubt, all the rest of that. They don't see that. And Murph, you are the prime example for people on how you can lead, how you can be successful, however you may define that, as long as you do your passion. And Murph, you were built for this, as a teacher, as a coach, as a mentor, as Mr. Motivation. This is who you were wired for. And that's what I try to tell the students. Find out what it is in you that you're wired for, and just dedicate yourself to that. Again, I brought it up, fine artist, a musician, a philosopher, whatever it may be. If that trips your trigger, just focus on that. And you said it, things will happen, that the universe will bring things and you will attract that. I believe that positive attracts positive and negative attracts negative. And so it is your choice. You talk about a positive mindset a lot in your book, and I think it's so critical. And again, we don't want to take it to be a fairyland story. I don't want to be ignorant here and all the rest of it. We go through some hard stuff. There's health issues. There's marital issues. There's all kinds of things, Murph, that people go through. So sometimes it's very hard to be positive. I don't want to be Pollyanna.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But it is critical that we try to at least, try and keep that positive outlook and surround ourselves, as we started this, surround ourselves with people who we can say, hey, I'm not feeling good today. I'm not feeling about this. I think I'm going to give up, and to let people tell you, here's the mirror. Look at this. Look what you've done in the last year, 2 years or whatever. This isn't the time for you to quit now. You quit now, you're right on the verge of some great things happening. And remember, Murph, you're not doing this for you. You're doing it for the audience. You're doing it for the people that you influence. I'm the same way. I'm not doing this for me.
Correct.
Truly doing it. I know the benefit of education. I'm now in a position, fortunate to be gifted and honored to be in this position. It's incumbent upon me to speak for those whose voice is minimized, those marginalized communities. I'm a white guy, so I should, if I'm in a B striving to be an anti-racist, I have to strive and make sure my voice is heard for those in communities whose voices aren't heard. And you're the same way, Murph. It's critical that we take the gifts, it takes the successes we have, and turn it for good for others. And I said it before, other things will be attracted to us because of that. But I think you and I didn't get into what we're doing for selfish reasons. We really did, because we saw the power of education. We saw the power of determination. We saw the power of what could happen if we believed in ourselves and did what we really believed we were wired to do.
Man, outstanding way to close us out, Dr. Ski. I appreciate it. Shouts out to Dr. Ski. Do remember classes start on Monday. We got Dr. Ski's IG here at HACC_ski, and his email's in the chat. Dr. Ski, I'm gonna put you in the green room. Don't leave yet, all right?
Okay.
All right. All right, good people, that's a wrap. Listen, if this spoke to your heart, share it. Take a moment to reflect on today's 3, 2, 1, and remember your action item. Take that one bold step forward. Follow me everywhere on socials. You know, I'm on IG, I'm on TikTok. Grab your copy of Unbreakable Valor. Join the Breakthrough Bunker, our free community to help you find clarity, direction, and motivation to live the dream life, right? Subscribe to the Breakthrough Bunker newsletter, your weekly dose of inspiration and tools to grow and go forward. We want to hear from you. Tap in, send us an email. Any questions, comments, emails on the ticker. We'd love to have any thoughts if you want to be a guest on the show. I always know this, your breakthrough starts with you. As Dr. Ski clearly stated, it starts with you. It's inside of you. You have all the tools you need to be great. And remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. Breakthrough Bunker, your chapter starts with you. Do you remember, good people? It's all about you. Yeah. Where we at? Give my theme music. Oh, we got it queued up and we got the outro. Let go.
I put it on my hood grown, NY, Brownsville, Bed-Stuy. I done came from the lowest lows, still walk with my head high. All my life, I've been through it. Made it out, I'm getting to it. Can't tell me I didn't do it. No passing L's, we